For some people, 100% in games is a nightmare, and for others it's the goal. Because let's be honest, not all 100% grinds are created equal. Some games turn completion into a chore. Collect 500 of this, grind 200 of that, and by the end you're questioning why you even started. Trust me, I've been there. Today we're talking about games that are genuinely fun to 100%, the kind where going for full completion actually adds to the experience instead of dragging it down, where side content feels meaningful, challenges feel rewarding, and you're not just ticking boxes, you're actually enjoying the ride. Now just to be clear, this isn't a list of the easiest games to 100%. Some of these will take time, effort, and maybe even a bit of skill, but they never feel like too much of a slog. Okay, so the first game I want to highlight is Oblivion Remastered. And yeah, this one's a big one, like probably the longest game on the list if you really commit to it. You can easily sink dozens of hours into this, and that's before you even realise how much you still have left to do. But here's the thing, it never really feels like a grind in the same way a lot of other 100% completions do. If you're going for full achievement completion, you're basically being encouraged to experience everything the game has to offer. That means going through all the major guild quest lines, the Dark Brotherhood, Thieves Guild, Mages Guild, Fighters Guild, plus the main story, side quests, Daedric quests, all that good stuff. And honestly, that's where Oblivion shines anyway. It's not like you're collecting 300 meaningless items scattered across the map for no reason. You're actually engaging with the stories, characters, and some pretty memorable quest design. A lot of these quest lines feel like full-on mini campaigns, so ticking them off feels satisfying rather than exhausting. And if you're worried about difficulty getting in the way, don't be. You can absolutely play this on the easiest setting and just kind of vibe with it. The game lets you tailor the experience to how you want to play. So if you're more interested in exploring and completing everything rather than struggling through combat, that option is there. That flexibility is a big part of why it works so well as a 100% game. You're not forced into playing one specific way just to get everything done. Also, because it's an Elder Scrolls game, a lot of the fun comes from existing in the world. You'll probably get sidetracked constantly, walking into a town, picking up a weird quest, ending up in some completely unexpected storyline. And weirdly, that actually helps with completion rather than hurting it, because so much of the game is built around those little moments. It's one of those rare cases where going for 100% doesn't feel like you're stretching the game beyond what it naturally offers. It just feels like you're seeing more of what makes it great in the first place. So yeah, it's long, it can be a bit of a commitment, but it's never really a chore, and that's kind of the whole point of this list. I had to include at least one of these PlayStation first party games, because a lot of them are actually pretty solid when it comes to 100% completion, but this one stands out the most for me, and that is The Last of Us Part 1. Mainly because it's way more relaxed than it used to be. If you played the original on PlayStation 3 or even the remaster on PlayStation 4, you'll probably remember that getting all the trophies wasn't exactly chill. You had to beat the game on the hardest difficulty, and there were even multiplayer trophies in there too, which depending on who you ask was either fine or just not what you wanted from a story driven game like this. This remake kind of just removes all of that friction. For 100% this time around, you're mostly focused on collectibles, upgrades, and fully experiencing the story. So things like finding all the artifacts, optional conversations, training manuals, upgrading your weapons and skills, that kind of stuff. It's all tied pretty naturally into how you'd already played the game if you're taking your time. And the best part is, you can do it all on the lower difficulties. So if you just want to enjoy the story, explore properly, and not stress about combat encounters, you can absolutely do that. It makes the whole experience feel way more accessible without taking away anything from what makes the game good. Also, the chapter select is a massive time saver too. If you happen to miss anything, it's not one of those situations where you'll be required to play through the whole game again just to get one collectible. You can just jump back in, grab what you missed, and move on. It respects your time, which is something that I always love to see in games. And speaking of time, this isn't a super long game. Compared to something like Oblivion, this is way more compact. You can realistically get through it, clean up what you missed, and hit 100% without it taking over your life for weeks. But more than anything, it's just a really good game. Like, even outside of completion, this is one of those games I feel like everyone should experience at least once. Alright, so for this next one, I went with Resident Evil Village, and honestly picking a Resident Evil game for this list was kind of inevitable. I was very close to choosing Resident Evil 2 instead, because that game is great for replays, but then I remembered the No Way Out scenario. And if you know, you know, that thing has humbled a lot of people. It's one of those challenges that can really stop your 100% run if it doesn't click. So yeah, Village feels like the more approachable option overall. And part of the reason why I like Resident Evil games for 100% in general is the way they handle challenges. On paper, a lot of them sound kind of intimidating, like speedruns, no heal runs, or limited saves. But once you actually get into it, they're way more manageable than they seem. Plus you can use bonus weapons that do more damage or have unlimited ammo, so that makes it a lot less stressful. More importantly though, these challenge achievements make replaying the game fun instead of repetitive. Because let's be real, these games aren't super long. Your first playthrough might take a while, especially if you're exploring everything. But once you know what you're doing, runs get a lot quicker. So having these different challenges gives you a reason to go back with a completely different approach each time. With Resident Evil 8, going for 100% is a mix of those kind of runs, finishing the game under certain conditions, obtaining every weapon upgrade, collecting all the files, and destroying the goats found around the maps. It sounds like a lot, but it's spaced out in a way that keeps things interesting rather than overwhelming. There is also a bunch of miscellaneous achievements for doing specific things like destroying an arrow out of the air, but they are really not that bad. Also, the achievements for completing the game under certain conditions, such as only using the knife, sounds daunting, but it can be made a lot easier if you use the special weapons that you can unlock. It is the same for the hardest difficulty achievement as well, because if you are using the best weapons in the game with unlimited ammo, then it's actually just a breeze. In addition to the main game and the other story DLC, there is also the Mercenaries mode. This is the part that I feel like most people used to struggle with the most, especially back when you could only play as Ethan. It was definitely doable, but it required a bit more precision and planning. But now with the updates, you can play as Lady Dimitrescu, which honestly makes a huge difference in the difficulty. She's just way more powerful and forgiving to use, so getting those higher ranks becomes a lot less frustrating. It kind of smooths out what used to be the main difficulty spike in the completion. I've also heard really good things about Resident Evil 4 Remake as a 100% experience, but I haven't played that version yet, but when I do, I'll talk about it in a backlog video. The next game I want to talk about is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, and this one kind of sits in a really nice middle ground for this kind of list. It's not super short, but it's also not some massive never-ending grind either. You're looking at around 25 to 30 hours to fully complete it, give or take, which honestly feels like a sweet spot. Long enough to feel like you've invested time into it, but not so long that it starts dragging. And I'll say this as well, even if you're not a huge Star Wars fan, I still think there's a good chance you'll enjoy this. The story stands pretty well on its own, the characters are solid, and it's more about the journey than needing to know loads of the background lore. When it comes to the 100%, the game gives you a decent mix of things to go after. You've got the collectibles scattered around different planets, things like chests, scanning all enemies, finding and growing all seeds, as well as fully exploring each area to fill out the map. There's also very light skill based stuff, like unlocking all abilities and then using them in combat to eliminate enemies a set amount of times. But it never feels overwhelming, mainly because of how the game is structured. A lot of it comes down to exploration. As you unlock new abilities, you can access previously blocked paths, which opens up more areas and collectibles. It's kind of got that Metroidvania style progression, so going back to earlier planets actually feels purposeful instead of just busy work. And if you do want to make things even smoother, following a guide can pretty much eliminate most of the annoying backtracking. You can pick up a lot of what you need as you go, rather than leaving everything for a massive cleanup at the end. With that said, there are a few combat related achievements, which might push it slightly out of the completely chill category for some people. Stuff like defeating enemies using specific abilities or combinations. It's not difficult exactly, but it can feel a bit like you're going out of your way to set things up. But even then, it's pretty minor, and if you haven't done those by the time you finish the story, it doesn't take too long to clean them up afterwards. You can just jump back in, target what you need, and you're done. I have managed to get 100% on this game twice before, and I think I would do it for a third time very soon to get all the achievements on Steam. So to wrap things up, I wanted to include at least one indie game, because there are so many good ones out there that handle the 100% completion really well. And the one I landed on is Call of the Sea. This game is just a really nice change of pace compared to everything else on the list. It's a first-person puzzle adventure set on this mysterious tropical island where you're basically uncovering what happened to your missing husband while also trying to piece together your own connection to the island. It's got a bit of a surreal, almost Lovecraftian vibe in places, but it's not a horror. It's more about the atmosphere and discovery, as well as solving some really satisfying environmental puzzles. This is a much shorter experience. If you really want to, you can 100% the game in just a few hours, but it doesn't feel rushed because the whole point is taking your time, looking around, understanding the puzzles, reading notes and just soaking in the environment. For the full completion, you're mainly focused on finding all the collectibles, completing the story and a bunch of really easy miscellaneous achievements. There aren't any ridiculous difficulty spikes or weird challenge runs thrown in. It's all built around engaging with the game properly. And that's kind of the key thing, it rewards curiosity. If you're paying attention and exploring naturally, you'll probably pick up a lot of what you need without even trying, and anything you do miss is easy enough to go back and grab with the use of chapter select, so it never turns into a frustrating cleanup process. It's also just a really well-paced game. Every area introduces new ideas, new puzzle mechanics, and new bits of story, so it doesn't feel repetitive even though it's quite short. By the time you're done, you've seen everything without it overstaying its welcome. And I think that's why it works so well with the final game on this list. It's not about putting in 50 plus hours or mastering difficult mechanics. It's just about enjoying the experience and letting most of the completion come naturally alongside it. I think for one of the next videos, I will talk about some games that are dreadful to 100% because there are a lot of them out there. Let me know down in the comments any games that you would add to the list. Thank you for watching and have a great rest of your day. So enticing,